What's up, YouTube? It's your boy RD back with another V. Right now it's kind of late, so I'm kind of keeping my voice down a little bit, but what's up? So today is my review for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC 6, also titled Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Goku's Next Journey. Now, as I sit down and prepare to do this, hello everyone, future editing RD here. So as this part plays, this is the part where it actually messed up for some reason. I don't know how, but maybe I did something with my headset. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm an idiot. So why am I saying this? Because you're going to be hearing a weird, glitchy, like tuning kind of noise in the background. It won't happen throughout the entire video, just for this specific section. But I'm just letting y'all know, a heads up. So prepare your ears, lower your volumes, and yeah, I don't know how to fix this. So, and I'm not redoing this. So thank you for understanding. Back to the video. So sorry if there's like any noise in the background, whatever. I try my best to get it out, but this is kind of like what the system works. So just gonna bear with me here, but this is going to be my complete review, or at least most of my review. Okay. I will say again, but like at the start of the video, I will say there's going to be spoilers in this game, but then not only just the gameplay, what you see, but also what I'm going to talk about. So just, I'm also going to put in the title, so just making it sure. But if you guys didn't read the title, then now's your chance to click off now. If you guys don't care about spoilers, if you guys already played the game, you're free to stay, and let's get into this. Now, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Goku's Next Journey. What do I think of the DLC? Well, it can go two ways. I mean, for me personally, I like the DLC. I think, it was pretty good for what it was, and I enjoyed it mostly. I personally enjoyed it. However, amongst the masses, and even I can, be understanding of this and agree upon this mostly, it's also a mixture of
what the hell is this?
So what happened, and why is this DLC underwhelming? If I were to describe this DLC in one word, it would definitely be underwhelming. And I say that because, now don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the DLC. I feel like it did a really good job story-wise, telling content, stuff like that, and things like that, etc, etc, etc. However, it does feel like this DLC was short as heck. Now, of course, it takes like probably 1 hour, maybe even 2 hours at most to complete the DLC if you're just going to do story mode, I believe. And then, but if you're going to do it plus the quest, that's like probably like an hour, 2 hours worth content, kinda, and especially afterwards. But like the main highlight of the DLC is definitely within the story, unfortunately, and I feel like it was way too quick. Like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was mostly, and I feel like did a really good job with what they did with the content wise, or at least the concept of it, right? I'm actually glad they managed to import like moves and stuff like that back into the main game. They even added like something new to the main game, which is the ground training, which is actually really tough for some reason, but there's that. But yeah, so before I really get into the main meat of the spoilers, I will say, as someone who also played the DLC and live streaming, obviously, is the DLC worth it? Is the season pass worth it? In my personal opinion, I'll say this: I'm not going to persuade you to buy the season pass or the DLCs or not at all. That's not me. That's not what I'm going to do. I will say, do it at your own discretion. You do it if you want to play the DLCs, despite whatever it is, despite the flaws, all of that, junk or whatever. But despite all that, if you want to play the DLCs, experience it yourself, enjoy it. By all courtesy to you, go ahead. You have the full right, authority, control of doing that. If you don't, that's fine, respectable, understandable. Me personally, I enjoyed what these DLCs have brought for me for what they were. Could they have done more? Yes, they could have, but I enjoyed it for what they were mostly. Okay, DLC 6, I feel like it is better than the two deal. Now that's probably popular on opinion, but it's better than the two DLCs in Season Pass 2. Now, is it better than DLC 5? That can be up to debate. Arguably, I say it's debatable. I'm gonna list arguable or debatable because there are things that DLC does well, and there are things that DLC 5 does well, and that gives them both advantages. But I feel like DLC 5 might come out on top due to the fact that it is like the first time ground combat is being implemented, a lot more content to do and stuff like that, etc, etc, etc. DLC 6, it has that, and I feel like, you know, I'll also give it some courtesies and give it like more advantages because it did a lot more stuff, especially revolving the main game than DLC 5 did. But, you know, like I said, that could be up to debate. Now, if you're going to play DLC 6, do not expect anything major or ambitious or more than what you see in the eye. Like, what you see is what you're pretty much gonna get. Like, if you saw the trailers and stuff like that, or if you really think about, like, you know, like what is adapting from, you're gonna get what you're gonna get. Yes, there is an extra scene added there, and I will get to that in the spoiler section, even though, you know, y'all, most of y'all who haven't played the game or don't know about it should be off, but regardless though, there is, like, you know, something new, and that's probably one of the best, if not the most highlighted parts of the DLC ever. But, you know, like I said though, like, do not expect to go into this expecting more or something cool or anything like that. I mean, there's gonna be cool moments here and there, but, like, you know, like, if you're gonna expect like more than what you see, then don't go into that, because you're gonna get your hopes like really high, and you're gonna be really let down. Now, this is where I'm gonna get to the spoiler part. Okay, so just letting y'all know, get to the spoiler part. So here we go. Now, I personally enjoyed the story that the DLC brought. I do think they could have done a lot more, for one. Two, I feel like, you know, they, gameplay wise, they could have done like much more like depth with the combat, but overall I feel like, you know, I enjoyed it, and I feel like it was pretty good for what it was. I definitely enjoyed the Goku versus Oob fight. Personally, I mean, you know, it was pretty much a good highlight of the DLC, especially watching the cutscenes and the cinematics and stuff like that. That was pretty fire. Like, I enjoyed it. But it is kind of, like I said, underwhelming and stuff like that. Now, I know I've been saying that word so many times. Like, when, you know, what exactly about underwhelming with this DLC? Well, you know, what I mean by underwhelming is that this DLC is really short, and the fact that, like, you could beat it like under an hour, 2 hours at most tops. Like, sure, like, in terms of the DLC with the story DLC with DLC 5, like, you were able to like beat it like around the same time for like 2 hours or such. But like, at least there, it felt longer. There was much more happening, and you had a lot more to do content wise. Here, it's really quick. Like, sure, they try to like extend it as much as they could, but like, you know, with this specific strict story material and source material, like, you know, what can you do? Now, here's where I also, now here's my other point where it says it gets underwhelming. It's the fact that after you defeat Oob and stuff like that, you think the title is called Goku's Next Journey, right? Titles are supposed to mean something. They're not supposed to be there for spectacle. I feel the title here was really misleading and only there for the spectacle. Because when you think of Next Journey, you think of beyond what you see, you think of beyond what you get and stuff like that. And this is what a lot of us, or at least I would expect a lot of us, and this is what I was expecting too. I was expecting them to do like something original. Because remember, this is just Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's own adaptation of the anime / manga. They can do whatever they want, and it can somewhat be canon, and it can explain a lot of what was originally explained in the manga or anime. So what I was personally thinking is that I was thinking that, like, after the main highlight of the DLC, we were still going to get more story. We were going to see what would happen after Goku and Oob fly off. We're going to see them train. We're going to see, you know, new combat, new modes, new fighting styles, new enemies, new stuff, new elements, a lot of new stuff that we never got to see originally, and heck, even be able to play as Oob himself. Can you imagine that? We get to learn much more about Oob We get to see his village, learn about his parents, his family, his background, everything. See connection between Goku and Oob, etc. Like, we could have gotten all that, and instead we just get a little video game adaptation recreation of End of Z. And, like, you know, I get it. You're trying to tell a story and stuff like that, and it's realistic and understandable. But, like, you know, a lot of people are going to be let down by this. And, like I said, the title is very misleading because when you think of Next Journey, you think of something beyond, but this wasn't even beyond. This was just like a recreation in a sense. Like, it got the focal point of this DLC is basically what you see right now, like the recreation of what happened in NZ in anime / manga. Like, there's nothing different per se. Like, yeah, there's new dialogue, new stuff, the cutscenes, a lot of stuff we never got to see originally, but like, the focal point, the fundamentals, the core, like the main value of the DLC is basically a recreation of the anime / manga of the End of Z, and it's really a letdown because now, of course, I kept my expectations a little low, but Apartment was also really like high because I was expecting them to do a lot more, especially when DBS Hype came out. He said that they're going to do more with the DLC, and now, of course, you know, more can be taken with a grain of salt, you know, then, you know, like, don't always take things at face value, obviously, but, like, even still, though, like, you know, even a new producer, like, the development team, like, they should know that, like, this is going to be a short thing, like, they should have, like, done a lot more, and I know they should have thought of that, but what we got was just basically a recreation. Now, of course, this is obviously for the new people who, everything this game offers is for the new fans, okay? It's literally for the new fans. And I think it's another reason why the DLC is doing so bad, you know, amongst the masses, because it's a lot of us longtime fans playing the game too, and we have a lot more to critique about than the newer ones. But we also got to understand this is at the end of the day for the newer fans who have never seen the anime or manga or got into the Dragon Ball through Dragon Ball Super, who are like, excuse me, and are like, hey, what happened before this? And a lot of people don't really have time or don't really want to like go through the hassle of watching the anime or reading the manga of what happened back in Z or even Dragon Ball. So this game exists. It's by far the most realistic and most, you know, well done adapted stories of Dragon Ball told, and in the video game format is definitely one of the ways to go. Now, even with that, it still does not, you know, dilute the problem here. And it's the fact that the DLC is basically underwhelming because I feel like a lot of us expected too much, and I expected a little much than what I was supposed to expect, and it was kind of a letdown. Like I said, I enjoyed the DLC. I think it was good. I personally think that, you know, it was better than the other two, you know, to an extent, not in full. Obviously, you know, there's courtesies and, you know, advantages and like ups and downs that each DLC in Season Pass 2 had, and Season Pass 2 was overall a hit or miss, to be honest, but you know, that's me personally. Like, you know, I joined the DLC. Other people may love it, like it. Other people may, like, you know, be like, eh. And other people don't like it, and, you know, that's fine, respect. But even still, though, like, you know, there's a lot of flaws with this DLC. Like I said, like, they could have done a lot more story-wise with this DLC, and it would have been awesome to see that. Like, see the development between Goku and Oob, play as Oob even, you know, train, see what happens after this. Heck, even like, you know, some side stuff where Goku does come back every once in a while to visit his friends and family, and there's more stuff happening. You know what I mean? And we still don't know what's going on with the villains in this game, because we gotta always remember at the end of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, the main game, when you talk to all the villains, they have something to say. They all say that they're going to be training or they're going to come back in some way, shape, or form along those lines. They're going to say that they're going to return, and we still have gotten nothing of those return. Like, Bandai, what are you doing? Now, I think a lot of this also has to come with the fact that the new producer is also at fault here. Is it entirely his fault? Maybe not, but like, it is mostly his fault. Now, I like his direction. I like the concept of what he's trying to do, but the execution of it is either it could be done much, or there's more that could be done, or it's underwhelming. and there's nothing that really suffices. Sorry about that, guys. This is gameplay. Don't worry about that. But and it's like it doesn't suffice anything for the main game. For one, unlike the previous 3 DLCs did, and there's not a lot to go with this DLC. Now, of course, they did fix up, they fixed up the DLC problem we all had, where they couldn't carry everything into the main game. Obviously, in this DLC, they did a lot more stuff, which I liked. But at the end of the day, it was all for what? Like, it still comes off underwhelming. They could have done a lot more than what they let on, and I feel that the title was very misleading because it says Goku Next Journey, not End of Z. When we not End of Z, obviously, a lot of people are just gonna have the expectation low, but like, it's Goku's next journey. We expected something much more, far beyond, and this is what we get? A literal recreation of End of Z and nothing new, nothing more? Like, come on. Like, you guys could have done so much better than just that. Holy crap, bro. Now, the DLC isn't entirely bad, and I want to say one of the main, like, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can agree with this, like, one of the main, or the best thing to come out of this DLC would be what happens at the end, which is like some really new and original, which is the Goku versus Vegeta fight. And I absolutely loved the fight. I think it was really unique, new, cool, and as you're about to see it right now, I think it was really awesome. I like how they took a lot of liberals implications, iterations, and inspirations from like the Ultimate Ninja Storm series, where like it has those fights where like as you're fighting, it cuts to like a flashback and stuff like that. Some awesome, cool cutscenes, even from like the quick time events within the cutscenes. Like this fight was really phenomenal. I liked it. I enjoyed it. A lot of people enjoyed it too. It was like one of the main highlights, if not the best thing to come out of this DLC. And I feel like it really set the bar. And I liked it. Like I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, I'm really glad that they took a lot of like inspirations, liberals, and implications from Ultimate Ninja Storm series. Because we all gotta remember, this game is still developed by Connect 2. So that was a cool thing to happen. And so yeah, I'm glad about that. Now, coming off of the DLC, there's a lot of people that have been saying that, oh, this DLC, the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is dead, or they should have brought Dragon Ball Z Kakarot to the ground. They should probably just give up and make a new Kakarot, and like a Dragon Ball Super Kakarot or Dragon Ball Z Kakarot 2 or something like that. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah, blah, etc. etc. And I want to get my take on this, and I want to explain why. While I understand it, I understand the morals, the idea, I understand the concept, I can understand why people want it. It's not like making a new Kakarot game or like a sequel to Kakarot game will not work, and it's not the best way for them to revive the Kakarot series. And I'm gonna explain why. Now, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is its own game, right? It follows the genre of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is a action RPG open world type of game, and it's focused more on the adventure type of Dragon Ball than the action type of Dragon Ball. Yes, the action is still there, and it follows a similar 3D arena kind of fighting style, but it's still in its own genre. It's its own thing in a sense. So to follow up a game like Kakarot is really impossible to handle because it's its own thing. The placement between Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, where it's set up, makes sense too, because this is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. The Route Z, yes, by that time, it was much more like action-packed, but they were still going around the world. They were even going into off-planet worlds like the Supreme Kai world, Namek, and King Kaiser's world, right? Like they were still following that adventure-type game. All right, like there's still like a venture happening within Dragon Ball Z, despite it being more action heavy, and so this gave them the perfect formula to make the kind of game that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is, following that more adventure style of Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball in general. Now, like I said, it would be cool and nice to have a sequel game because, yeah, I understand what people are talking about. You know, they dropped the ball with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. They had a lot of money on the table and they just didn't utilize it. But it's not the more optimal choice because, like I said, you know, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is its own kind of game. I mean, let's take it to kind of be like, well, what would happen if they did make like a sequel? It wouldn't work because Dragon Ball Super, because if they're gonna make a sequel to Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, it had to be Dragon Ball Super based, and Dragon Ball Super just doesn't have that kind of flair, or doesn't have that uniqueness that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot would have if they were to make a Dragon Ball Super Kakarot, because by that time everything was just action heavy. Everything was action. Like, sure, they went to new places, but the majority of it wasn't anything new, and that wouldn't really make a great setup for a sequel to a Dragon Ball game. Because you gotta remember this too. If they were to make a Dragon Ball Super Kakarot, what would we do? Like, yeah, we go through Dragon Ball Super's timeline, we go through much fights, new stuff like that, etc., etc. Sure, but it wouldn't be enough to suffice its own sequel-like game, because Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, like I said, is its own thing, and the placements where it's set up makes sense for an adventure, open-world RPG type game. And to have like a sequel to that couldn't work, like I said, because Dragon Ball Super never really had that adventure type. Yes, they went on different places, but it wasn't enough to suffice it as its own game. I mean, let's look at the main highlights of Dragon Ball Super. We got Universe 6 versus 10, really? Universe 6 versus 7, right? That entire map, you're stuck to literally the tournament. Is that enough for an open world kind of game? Let's look at Goku Black Arc. Yes, you're going to be into a city, but you're stuck to one singular city. Is that really enough for an open world kind of game? And yes, I know it can be open world because it's going to be a big huge space, but it's going to follow like a sandboxy type area, and without enough to do in that, it will be completely boring. Then we got the tournament power. You literally set to the tournament power arena. What are you going to do there? Like, sure, they could add subquests and other things there, but overall it's going to start growing stale and it's going to get boring. And those stuff will be much more suited for a DLC than it to be its own like game. Now, if the situation was reversed, let's say they did a Dragon Ball Super Kakarot instead of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, then yes, they can do all those stuff. But Dragon Ball Z came out first, and there could be the argument, oh, well, they can, you know, rehash, you know, the old maps and stuff like that. Well, why? What would be the point of a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot then? Because you're just playing the same Dragon Ball Kakarot type game, just under a different title and cool new stuff that should be suited for a DLC, and now it's its own sequel-like game.
So for this bad quality voice, but I just wanted to also add in a point that I forgot to make in this because I had to redo this entire section here. I also made the example of Overwatch. When Overwatch first came out, it was obviously a new IP, original, everybody loved the game, it was different, it was unique. When the second game was released, people were saying that this was literally Overwatch 1.1 because Overwatch 2 is basically the same game. Same thing with the Dragon Ball Super Kakarot. Like, if they were to do a Dragon Ball Super Kakarot or like a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot sequel, it would kind of be like you know, the same scenario what happened with Overwatch. They made a sequel to Overwatch 1, which was not even a sequel, it was just the same game, just under a different title. That would be the problem there. So, yeah. That's the point I messed up to make. So, back on track with the video.
People have to understand the kind of game Kakarot is, and it's not a game like Fighters or Xenoverse or how Sparking Zero is going to, or how the Mugen Takaichi or Sparking series is, right? Kakarot is its own kind of thing where it should be stuck to its own self and nothing more. Because like I said, while I understand the morals, the ideas, the concept, and I can understand why people want it, and heck, it would be nice and cool to have a sequel to Kakarot, it wouldn't be the more optimal choice, especially when you take into consideration that making an entire new game costs a lot of money, a lot of time, and budget. And you need to have the right people and the right developers to make that game. And it just wouldn't suffice because they'll be just wasting their time within a Kakarot game. Like, why would you waste more money, or why would you spend a lot of money making an entire game that wouldn't really work for what it's already, for the IP already has? We could just make more DLCs that cost less money, and you get more money upon that. Because you also understand from a business point, people want to make money. A lot of business want to make money. It's business. Business is business. And to make another Kakarot game wouldn't really sell the mark. So that's why, while I understand and it'll be nice, that's why a sequel to Kakarot wouldn't work, because the style, the IP of what Kakarot is not suited for a sequel like a game. Ooh, excuse me on that. It's not suited for a sequel like a game because there's not enough for it to be suffice as a sequel, and it's certainly going to cost a lot more time and effort than it should, not more optimal. And like I said, they won't be doing a lot. Like there won't be like the adventure type that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is following. So that's my take on it. Now, what about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot as a whole? Is there a way to save the game? Well, yes, there is. Okay, guys, and the answer is to not make a sequel game and throw this game in the ground. That's not the answer. And I know people want it, but like I already explained why we shouldn't get one, so I don't need to go into that. So, even at this current stage of where Z Kakarot is at, there's still a way to save it. How do we save it, RD? What are you thinking? Glad you asked. Now, how do we save it? Easy. Number one, we make New Game Plus. Now, this has been a topic for a bit, but literally, if you add a New Game Plus, this will allow many people to get back into the game and allow some replay value to the game. Because let's be real, no one wants to start a new game on Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and redo the entire thing over again. It's just too much work. Not everyone wants to do that. People want to go back to the game, to the story. The only thing you reset is the levels, but they want to keep all the items collected, keep all the Z ores, keep all the skills and transformations, but just reset the level. Or even better yet, raise the level cap. Make it harder and more challenging. Raise the level cap, raise the difficulty with the AI. That will be even better, a more optimal and better choice. Because like I said, it'll bring much more replay value and a reason for people to get back into the game. And not only that, but get a lot more people into the game. A lot more people to buy the game. Second thing they should do, raise the level cap to 400, 450, whatever 500, whatever they could raise it. Raise the level cap, because you know they did say that the level cap has been raised, but literally it was just to 300, and that got me thinking, like, what if they raised it even higher? And not only just raise the level cap so that way it could get more people back into the game and a reason to continue playing the game, but give them a reward, right? Add new skills, add new like combo sets, new something to a lot of characters, and allow them, get the players a reason to come back to the game. You know, something more to come back to the game than just a random level cap. Because not only would you be allowing them to give them some more replayability to your game, but you're gonna give them a reward for, you know, getting to that X level, right? And not only just that, but make the leveling system, or like, you know, make that like journey to the level hard or like challenging to get to that. Sure, they could follow the simple sacred waters, but add challenge to that. That way it gives them much more purpose and some value to leveling up. So that would be my second point of that, which is leveling the race cap. And I feel like they could really do that. And like I said, they were in the right direction with like what they did at the end of DLC 6, which is add an entire new mode, you know, in the main game, so they could continue doing that. But just expand upon that and raise the level cap. That's on me. Now, my third point is to add real true training. What do I mean by real true training? Glad you asked. The way to train is by eating. And while eating may be a cool thing that they add, it doesn't make sense for the type of style that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is going for. Like, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is supposed to be a realistic, living, breathing Dragon Ball world where you experience a Dragon Ball experience. Make that a reality. Make that possible. Do not just say it and only accomplished 95% of it or 99% of it. Accomplished 100%. And yes, Goku and Vegeta were eating a lot when they were training, especially in the anime and manga, but they weren't eating as much as they were training. The only way you can really level yourself up and boost your stat in terms of like boosting your stats and buffs and stuff like that is by eating. And like I say, maybe a little fun gimmick, maybe a little cool thing, but that's not realistic and it just doesn't make sense. And there's way more fun ways you can do this than just eating. And besides, at the end of the day, it becomes a fetch quest. And listen, bro, fetch quests in video games aren't the kind of thing that a lot of people like, okay? Like, I understand the point, and obviously, that may be a cool way for them, to like be able to like eat and stuff like that, as there's a lot of other new screenshots from other things happening, and I don't know if it's lined up. I'm just grabbing I'm just adding random screens, like random gameplays to the game besides DLC 6, but there's still DLC 6 really, there's also other things, but okay. I don't know why I got sidetracked. Back on topic. Sorry guys. Despite that though, even though a lot of people, I don't know how to say it, but a lot of people don't like fetch quests like that. Okay, it may be a cool thing once or twice, and it could maybe a nice thing to have, but if it happens constantly, especially in the type of style that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is making you do, fetch questing, materials and ingredients just so you can eat and boost up your stats, that's gonna be boring and stale, and it's gonna be repetitive or redundant. No one wants to do that. So, how do we fix this, RD? Simple. Add real training. There should be this should be like a main focal point, okay? So what I mean by adding training, simple. Add in, first of all, like I said, make an update. There should be, let's start with the main meat. There should be certain maps where there should be specifically where it should be where if you're going to train those maps, it should be specific to certain types of characters. For example, King Kai's planet, perfect example actually, because when you go to King Kai's planet now, there is nothing to do there, literally nothing. Who the frick wants to run around for an hour? That might be fun to watch, but to do that, it's come on, bro. They could do so much more with freaking King Kai's planet. So how do they fix this? Easy. Add in a actual mode, a combat mode, be able to talk to King Kai as Goku. You can only train in King Kai's planet with Goku because that's the main part he always trains in. So with Goku, you're able to boost the stats up with melee. Let's say you want to boost on your melee, you're gonna have a certain section to only melee, defense only switches to defense, speed, critical, key, etc. Each status and each time you complete it upgrades a buff, and it's a permanent buff and a permanent booster stats. That will be great training method. It will be way more fun and give a lot more people a reason to come into the game and give a lot more replay value to the game, a lot more depth to the game. Second thing, Supreme Kai's words will be for Gohan because he will mostly train there, so that'll be that. And the gravity chamber for Vegeta should be able to train with Vegeta. Now, of course, everybody can access the gravity chamber if they're going to learn the know-hows and stuff like that. But for actual training in terms of stats, Vegeta should be the only one to access that. Simple as that. And for those specific required maps where only those specific kind of characters can go to, as an extra boost to the buffs that they, or the perks that they earn for the status. Will it happen all the time? There's going to be certain parts, and no. And obviously, they can still pick the other kind of training methods alongside that. But even still, though, that would be a great way for that to happen. The time chamber should be a training method for all those kind of stuff, and everybody should have access to that. After you're done with your status, you can continue with other kinds, but after you complete it the first time, it will have a countdown, real-time countdown. That will allow a lot more replayability and replay value to the game. Can you imagine that? That would literally revive the game in some way, shape, or form. Now, along with this point, tournament modes should be added to the game. It's a perfect formula for them to add a tournament mode where you can just fight random CPUs, and if they can even add an online mode for the tournament mode. Now, would this be a complicated thing to get behind? Sure, because Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's fighting style isn't the best for online mode, especially since there's not balance in this game. But they can work something out. They had to create balance, but they can work something out for the online mode of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Tournament mode. How do you access this? Well, easy. Just talk to the tournament arena and stuff like that. Now, to the minor details like little updates that are so significant, fix the Super Saiyan aura, bro. Like, no one wants to see the blue key charge anymore in Super Saiyan, bro. Like, it's so weird. It's so dumb. If you could do it for Super Saiyan God, making red, you can do it for Super Saiyan. Fix it. Simple. Like, I don't know why it's still a problem, bro. It's not that big of a coding. Just fix it. Thirdly, what was I gonna say? Yeah. Oh, yes, man. I'm cutting this out. Thirdly, they should add you be able to customize your costumes. There's so many outfits and attires in this game that you just like you can't like let it go to waste. Like allow us to be able to change into the even DLC outfits. Allow us to be changed into like the Wii Mugi Goku outfit or Wii Mugi Vegeta outfit, or heck, allow us to be able to change into the NFZ Vegeta outfit before the tournament or during the tournament. Allow us to be able to change into Goku End of Z outfit, or Goku when he was like when the same battle armor, right? Allow us to be able to there's it even like specific like even like new like costumes that were in the game that were in the anime or manga. Allow us to be able to like wear those. There should be no reason why we cannot be able to customize our gi, especially with the amount of with the lot of gis we have in this game, bro. Like we deserve to be able to wear them. And the second thing, like update the Flying Nimbus. Please update the Flying Nimbus. Like, sucker, it's too slow in the main game. You made it work in DLC 5. Make it work in this game, bro. Please. And the last thing is for them to... Now, it's not like a necessity, but it'll be nice for them to have. Be able to, like, transform to whatever transformation you want to transform into during free roam. Like, during the adventure style. You know what I mean? Like, I feel that might be a cool thing to add. Do they need to add it? No. Is it imperative? No, but, it'll be a cool thing to add. And this actually leads into my final point, which is to add ground combat to the main game. And not just add ground combat to the main game, but allow it to be in a real-time transition between aerial and ground combat. So like, let's say you're fighting someone, right? If you want to go to the ground, it would work. You could go to the ground, and you could fight them from the ground even though they're in the air, and they could go to the ground or teleport to the ground, and y'all will be ground combat. And y'all can transition into the aerial combat, and they could just go back and forth. That will add so much more depth to the gameplay, and so much more replay value, and give a lot of people, even newcomers, into the game, which will make it sell a lot more. Well, let's get it back on this track. And not only just add it to the main game, we're not talking about free roam, no, we're talking about through the entire game. This means from, DLCs even, right? DLCs, the stories, etc. Like, we need that in the main game as an entirety and to previous DLCs. Now, obviously, DLCs like, DLC 6 and 5, they're going to be really affected because they already have that. But other DLCs that didn't have it, they should also be affected with this too, and give all characters some unique moves. Give them more stuff. That way, this brings much more life into the game. With this idea, they can make Kakarot revive again and make it work and allow a lot of replayability and make this game stable. They were in the right direction with what they did in terms of the end game content of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC 6, especially you being able to like carry all this other stuff into the main game, like the skills, the new combo set, and even like they even add like a new like actual like training ground mode within the main game, it was actually challenging. Like those are really good right steps within taking those liberals and adding like actual main content to the main game, but they could do a lot more. They could do so much more. And it's really important that they start to do this, because especially if they want to save the game, and especially since Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, there's going to be Season Pass 3. Well, as of right now, obviously nothing's confirmed, and they could even cancel it. But DBS Hype, they came out. It's not DBS Hype, my fault. DBS Chronicles came out saying how the season pass 3 will be Dragon Ball Super based. They have a lot of time, a lot of realables, and a lot of like. They have a lot of time to redeem themselves. Heck, even through the next season pass, they can learn from this season pass mistake, from the earlier mistakes, and redo it like how it was supposed to be redone. Everything suffices for the main game, carries over to the main game. They add a lot more content within the DLCs itself, and there's something that's new, that's added, that's done into the main game. Yes, there was new stuff into this season pass, but to sum the season pass overall, it was not worth the price tag it was given, and it was certainly underwhelming, or they could have done much more. Overall, I will give DLC 6 an overall 7 to 7.5 out of 10. It's good, it had ambition, and I feel like I enjoyed it the most. However, it was just lacking in content and story, and they could have done so much with it, and they just made a recreation of MLC. Like, come on. And for a rating of Season Pass 2, this was overall a good 5 to 6 out of 10. Is it the worst? No, but it was certainly underwhelming, or they could have done a lot more. This was an unfortunate season pass, to be honest with you, and it's really sad because I was expecting a lot more with this season pass, and I was really excited in the direction they were going with and what they could do, and they just did not use what they had to their advantage. They limited themselves too much. And this is and like, you know, I really hope, like, you know, that never happens again, and they learn from the mistakes, and hopefully in the next season pass they take a lot more risks and much more liberals, and they add a lot more oomph and ump it up in the next season pass. Hopefully that's still going to be a thing, but you know, who knows. At the end of the day, this is low-key my review of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC 6. And my review of the game as a whole, especially with the season pass and stuff like that. Again, you know, thank y'all for watching, and you know, let me know down in the comments what y'all think about my points, my opinions. What do you think about the DLC as a whole? Do you think it was good? Do you think it was bad? Do you think it was mediocre? Mixed feelings. Like, I'm curious to see what y'all had and what y'all thoughts are in the comments. You know, let me know down in the comments below. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this review, and hopefully, you know, I'll see you on in the next video, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, peace out.